Chelsea are trying to force Conor Gallagher out of the football club because he won't sign a new contract, and they've effectively chosen his next club. That next club just happens to be a club that's outside the Premier League that is not a direct rival for Chelsea. And Chelsea offering him a contract of 2 years plus a year's option in an era when Chelsea's contract offers are usually 7 years plus a year's option.
It's a Chelsea thing.
That Conor Gallagher situation at Chelsea, banished from the first team, we believe at the moment. There's been an offer accepted from Atletico Madrid as well. We think that Conor Gallagher is actually keen to stay at Chelsea. He just wasn't that happy with the contract length, and you can't blame him when they've got players like Mudryk and Caicedo on 7-8 year contracts as well. It sounds like Conor Gallagher is actually keen to stay at Chelsea. He's just looking at the contract length and going, do you know what, I think I've earned a bit more than this, but now they've said, no, do you know what, you can't train with us, and actually we want you out the door.
Yeah, I think he's been treated disgustingly, in all honesty. I think if you look at last season, along with, I'd say, Trevor Chalobah, who also has been treated disgustingly, probably two of the shining lights, along with Cole Palmer, I think. And Crookie's right, the players that have come in, Mudryk as well, that's been offered these massive contracts. Broja and Trevor Chalobah only recently signed 6-year contract extensions or new contracts, and he's arguably one of their better players. He's wore the armband in the absence of Reece James. I just think it's showing that this is an out-and-out business for Chelsea. It's nothing to do with it. We know why they're selling or want to sell those two, for the pure profit that they gain having come through the academy. I think it's disgusting the way he's been treated.
It's a Chelsea thing.
We're hearing. What do you make of this freezing him out? It's basically pushing Conor Gallagher out of the door.
It's exactly the same as what happened with Mason Mount. Mason Mount was offered a contract, and I know that there was a lot of anger from Mason Mount and his family because the rate of what he was offered was not on the level of some of the highest paid at Chelsea. Now, at that time, he was an England international and a very important player for Chelsea. Obviously, he had injuries. He's had a difficult time since. He was forced out. There's no way. I don't know how we've got to this place where the youngsters that you nurture, bring through, they end up being assets for you to sell. They don't become valuable for you to keep. They've offered him a 2-year plus one. You don't know. You obviously 5- and 6-year contracts given to every other Chelsea player.
Some of them have got 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. And
Higher.
That you're giving a 2-year plus one to a guy. Well, look.
They don't want him to sign that.
Exactly. I was about to say, this is a contract. Please don't sign. Well, we need the 33 million for other reasons to come into the football club. You got to go. Well, he was Conor a vice captain or the standing captain last year.
He's always made it clear that Chelsea is his club. Yeah. That's the place he wants to be at. So if he's
Mason Mount was his club. And he used the same words. I mean, Trevor Chalobah's another one. There's a third one there. How have Chelsea got them? Well, not Chelsea, but football got this. Got into this position, I don't know.
I do think there's a wider discussion around this about the way the PSR rules work. It encourages clubs to do this. But I still think as a football club, you have a responsibility when you nurture a young player and bring them through and they repay you by, performing, which Conor Gallagher did last season. We're talking about a midfield that was built of Conor Gallagher and two players that they paid in excess of £100 million for. And he was the one that came out looking the best. So I think Chelsea have a responsibility here to treat him right. Okay, you want to sell him, fine, that's your preference. But to freeze him out, to go to those lengths to push him out, just seems wild to me.
But he also still has a contract with Chelsea Football Club. And, if I was Conor Gallagher's lawyer, never mind his agent, you'd be looking and saying, you may think you can freeze him out. It's disgraceful. It's not right, He's demonstrably one of the players there who should be in the first team squad. They're saying you've got to go and train with the kids or whatever they're going to say. He's not done anything wrong.
Well, no, they've given him a week to decide. That's basically where we are now. That he's got till the end of this week of whether he takes the move to Atletico Madrid.
And Atletico Madrid are applying pressure from their side as well. I've been reading.
Well, it's great for him that he's got a great club after him. That can be a great opportunity for him. I just think Chelsea's behaviour is not the way to treat a player. This is exactly what happened with Mason Mount.
And it puts players off of joining you in the future, doesn't it? If you're a prospective Chelsea signing and you're looking at this from afar, you're thinking, do I want to go there? Do I want to go and commit to a 5-6 year deal, knowing that at any given point they can decide that actually they want to move me on and they might freeze me up?
This, of course, is to do with having American owners now, isn't it? It reminds me of the way that footballers in the NFL are moved around
Traded,
from club to club to club, traded, to use that word. In fact, they're just commodities. Now, look, footballers are commodities. I do get it. I get it. But they have, the contracts that professional footballers have in England are the strongest employment contracts anywhere in the world that I can see.
In sport, without doubt.
Unquestionably. The club can go into tailspin, the tea lady can be sacked, but the contracts of the footballers are absolutely sacrosanct. But that's got to be a two-way street. Conor Gallagher can't just be treated like, all right, well, thanks very much, pal, off you pop. I'm not sure it's a terrible look, I know that.
It's a Chelsea thing.
Conor Gallagher, we've heard today, and we're speaking about this, frozen out and of the first team situation. Why would they do this? In terms of you mentioned Enzo Fernandez, and there's a lot of things happening at Chelsea at the moment that's not great for Enzo Maresca, and then this happens. He's got this one wrong.
It's an absolute car crash at Chelsea at the minute, because so you had that Enzo Fernandez, which is out of Chelsea's control. They're not getting any blame for that. Enzo Maresca, obviously, no blame that whatsoever.
Yeah,
but the way they've handled this situation shows a complete lack of class, a complete lack of respect. We know football is brutal, does it, right? It is brutal. Basically, you're a commodity. Now, to say to somebody, right, you're not training with the first team, the club captain, by the way, who had a really good season last season, they're saying that they don't think that he can play the way that Enzo Maresca wants him to play. Now, is Enzo Maresca actually said that? Because I was gone to Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, who are the directors of the football, where they're directors of mayhem at the moment, aren't they? Because they don't know what they're doing.
No.
Because last season, Conor Gallagher, he had an outstanding season. I was just looking at his stats. He played 37 Premier League games, created 53 chances, 5 goals, 7 assists. And that's from a player who was playing in as a two, like a holding midfield player. And Chelsea won the last 5 games of last season with him and Caicedo, in midfield. Yep. They had 1 defeat in 15. Come through the academy. If there's a player that you need in your team and in your squad that can bring that squad together, even in the situation they're in at the moment where it's going to be fractured, Conor Gallagher is that player. Yeah. So for him to come in today, and apparently he was coming in hoping that they might change their mind on his contract, and they say, no, you're going to give you 2 years with year option, basically because it looks like Chelsea are, doing what they can to keep him. He's thinking, how much more can you disrespect me? When you said there, Enzo Fernandez, players coming in, Mudryk gets 7-8 year contract. He knows how much they're on, by the way, as well. Of course you do. He'll know they're on 150s, 100%, whatever. So he would have found that derogatory. And then to tell him, by the way, you're not training with the first team. You're going to go and train. We used to say go and train with the cows in the top field. How do they think that's going to be a brilliant atmosphere around dressing room, around the training camp, whatever? Because he's not a player that has caused any problems or any hassle at all. None whatsoever. Yep. His behaviour's been exemplary. And you know yourself, Daz, fans love players coming through academies. Yep. They give you your soul. They give you your soul. They give you your heart. And if you look at the difference between, I know people say, oh, you're good, the way Arsenal have treated Emil Smith-Rowe, to the similar situation, been there since 8-9, come up through the system, been one of the top players. You look at the way those players have been treated, it's totally at different ends of the scale.
100%. I mean, you mentioned Emil Smith-Rowe and the situation. This is what sporting director Edu said about Emil Smith. Emil is loved by us at the club. He's been with us for many years. We're so proud that he's developed through our academy system into our first team. It's been a positive collaboration to find the right place for Emil, where he will continue to grow and make his mark on the Premier League. That's Edu. I'm sure there's going to be a statement by Mikel Arteta. There'll be a statement from Emil Smith-Rowe himself. So the way Arsenal's treated one of their homegrown talents coming through the academy is exemplary. Yes, he's moved on, absolutely.
And they knew he was going to move on.
Yeah, he's moved on for his own development. And absolutely. I think they knew that he wasn't going to get the game time that he deserves, maybe. Yep. So move on to another Premier League club. They didn't stick around and sell him abroad or wait for offers somewhere else, so he didn't sell him to a Premier League club. They'd done that. In this situation, Chelsea have made an absolute error. The way they've treated Conor Gallagher, who, by the way, is a Chelsea supporter. His family is Chelsea supporters. He lives a 10-minute drive from the training ground. He grew up a 10-minute drive from the training ground. He was stand-in club captain last season when Reece James was out injured. He had a fantastic season, as you said. Got into the England fold, got into the England side, went to the Euros. To be treated like this, while you're on holiday, by the way, and you come back and you expect to be offered a decent contract or at least something that you feel is correct for how you've done for that football club, it's appalling. And if and when he does leave, and if and when it's looking like it might be Atletico Madrid, I mean, Perry, who's the mugs there? Who's the mugs there?
Well, Conor Gallagher's going into the Champions League. He's obviously probably going to double, maybe treble his wages. He's going to a world-class manager in Diego Simeone, where it will be a different culture. He'll have to prove himself. The style of football will suit him in the way that obviously Atletico play will suit him as well.
Yeah.
And you said about the statements, Arteta's quote about Emile Smith-Rowe. I'm sad that Emile's leaving us, but excited for him to take his new opportunity at this stage of his career when he needs to be starting matches and playing regularly. Emile is loved by everyone at the club and leaves us with our gratitude, absolute respect and best wishes. We all wish Emile and his family well at Fulham. So there's a mutual respect there, because they're not saying that we don't think you're any good or you can't play the way you want to play. You're 24 and you aren't going to be a regular starter and you deserve first-team football. This is Chelsea. This is obviously reported. The Blues' reasons for the shorter terms offered is they no longer see a long-term future club for their academy graduate. They have concerns over his ability to play the possession-based style of a new boss, Enzo Maresca, and are reluctant to offer him a long-term deal due to that. Did they not see at the end of the... So does Pochettino not want to play expansive, free-flowing football? Did they not see him, sort of marshal that Chelsea midfield with Caicedo next to him? And we're talking about... I'd love to see Chelsea fans, what they actually think was going on at their club, because it is disrespectful the way they've treated Conor Gallagher. But I don't think Enzo Maresca comes out of this with any credit.
I don't.
The reason being is, if he said that he doesn't think Conor Gallagher can fit the way that he wants to play, and he hasn't really seen enough of him anyway, and he knows obviously from what he's done last season, I think that's a bad judgment. If he hasn't said this, and it's not his call, and it's Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, he has no power.
Yeah.
He's not the one who's in control of even the playing side of it. And we've got the problems with we've got the problems with Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea, I can't see Enzo Maresca lasting until October, November. First home game against Man City, which, I mean, you want to play Man City at the beginning of the season because they're a bit clunky when they start. And then the second home game is against Crystal Palace, who are honestly resurgence under Oliver Glasner. That could turn really toxic at Stamford Bridge. So just unless we're reading it wrong, and, Chelsea fans thinking, hold on a minute, no, we're happy what's going on, we can see the reasoning. I don't know about you, Daz, I can't see any football reasoning for Conor Gallagher apart from come through the academy system and he's pure profit, right? But even then, treat somebody with respect.
Yeah.
Treat him with the respect that he deserves. And they haven't. There's no respect there.
Yeah, of course it does.
It's a Chelsea thing.
Doesn't have to be this public belittling of a player that's done so well for the football club. To a certain extent, Nathaniel Chalobah as well is again, he's been outcast of Chelsea Football Club to academy players. We know why. We know it's because of they get 100% of
pure
the
profit,
profits,
exactly.
of course. But do these owners and potentially this manager, that they have to do their due diligence when they arrive at the football club? Last year was a disaster until the very end, where they managed to scrape up the league. Do they not come in and have a look and say, right, how do we keep the supporters on side? Let's keep our homegrown talent.
It's a Chelsea thing.
We can't have that happen again. So it's all a little political game where the guys above or the manager doesn't fancy the player are saying, we can't let this guy run his contract and go on a free. So we need to try and convince him by telling him you're going to be a squad player and the captaincy will be taken off you and you're not going to start, which then puts a negative sort of spin on it. As a player, you might get sucked in and go, well, I might as well leave then.
It's a Chelsea thing.